Breaking overnight, Israeli forces have seized the Gaza side of the key Rafah border crossing. An Israeli official tells NBC News that this is a very limited operation and designed to put pressure on Hamas and ceasefire talks. For more on this, we want to bring in Washington Post foreign affairs columnist David Ignatius. His new book is out today. It's called Phantom Orbit, a thriller. It is his 12th spy novel, and while it's fiction, it is right in the wheelhouse of what's happening today with interstellar espionage. So we'll talk to him about that, too. David, first of all, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Becky.
Let's talk what we're hearing in the headlines in the Middle East, what's happening with Rafah. Where do you see this playing out? What happens next?
So I think we're still in the phase of jockeying to get an acceptable deal for a ceasefire and a hostage release. There are different drafts that have been floated back and forth. As always happens in negotiations in the Middle East, anywhere else, there are disagreements, abrupt rejections. Sometimes in the Middle East, this last phase of negotiation is accompanied by military operations. We're seeing that on the edges of Rafah, but this is not the full-scale invasion of Rafah that Israel has been warning about. I think one factor to bear in mind is that President Biden is leaning very hard through CIA Director Burns on all the parties. He really wants this. This is the absolute centerpiece of his diplomacy, foreign policy, really, for the rest of his term, I think. So I'd expect that to continue. He's leaning hard on Israel. The problem here is that in a diplomatic agreement like this, you try to fuzz up precisely who wins and who loses. And that's the one thing that Israel isn't prepared to be ambiguous about. Israel wants to come out of this war with Hamas defeated as a military force for Gaza going forward. And I think that's non-negotiable. So there's a limit on how much Bill Burns or any other clever diplomatic negotiator can do here.
David, a lot of times these foreign wars can seem very far away, but your most recent column for the Washington Post takes a look at what's happening and the potential threat to the United States. You quote the FBI Director Wray saying that the threats that the U.S. faces are at a whole other level when it comes to terrorism. What can you tell us?
So I think your viewers should be aware, concerned, but not overly so, about a new issue that's worrying the FBI that led to a meeting of the National Security Council Principals Committee, the top officials, Secretary of State, et cetera, about a week ago to discuss Central Asian terrorist threats associated with an offshoot of Islamic State called ISIS-K. This is a group that was pushed out of Afghanistan by the Taliban, which now run Afghanistan. And their operatives went into countries like Tajikistan, elsewhere, began meeting people, recruiting people. There are two operations that mean we have to take them seriously. First, in January, they set off a bomb in Iran that killed 95 Iranians in Iran. In Russia, in March, they sent out terrorist attackers who killed 144 Russians at a big venue called Moscow Kuka City Hall. The United States, through its intelligence net, was aware of both before they happened and sent warnings, believe it or not, to Iran and to Russia. They didn't do anything about them. But there's concern that some of those same Central Asians, Tajiks, Uzbeks, others, have been moving across our southern border, relatively open, coming into the United States. I was told by the Department of Homeland Security it's about 50 Central Asians a day, 50 a day over the past year, adding up to well over 10,000. Some of those are registered. The people know who they are. Some of them are not registered. They're mystery people. And a final worrying point is that the FBI thinks that at least some of them, some small number, have been in contact with, have otherwise intersected with known ISIS-K facilitators. So there's concern that there's a pool of people out there that might be used in an operation that might be equivalent to what we saw in Iran and Moscow. Again, I want to underline that the NSC, when it looked at this, decided there wasn't any imminent threat, but ISIS-K is certainly rising in the lens of people who do terrorism work for the administration.
Let's talk about phantom orbit. That's, a war taking place or that plays out in space is something you've been thinking about for several years. You started writing this book before we actually saw it playing out with what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. I think a lot of people don't understand the space implications in that war, but you see this as really the next frontier when it comes to warfare.
I do. I think the Ukraine war, in some ways, is the first space war. Ukraine simply couldn't fight without the assistance it gets from Elon Musk's Starlink subsidiary of SpaceX. Starlink, as I'm sure your viewers know, has 5,000 satellites in low Earth orbit, can provide broadband internet coverage pretty much anywhere in the world. Ukraine uses that to download key information to its troops in the field. In addition, Ukraine calls on all the array of commercial satellite data that's available from companies like Maxar, Planet X, go down the list. There are companies that offer virtually every kind of information that used to be available only to government intelligence agencies. You can now buy on the open market. You can get synthetic aperture radar imagery from commercial satellites. You can get even SIGINT, voice signals collected by these low Earth orbit satellites. So it's a new world. One thing that I discovered in doing research for this book is that the intensity and energy of the commercial space area, the way in which launch costs are declining radically, yes, but in which so many new modules that can do small, important things in space are being put into the satellites that can now be launched so cheaply. As launch costs go down, the ability to put up something useful as part of a network increases. So this is a sector that, for me as a novelist, was fascinating, but also for your viewers, pretty darn interesting, too.